Welcome to Swift Kick TV. Hello, everyone out there. We have a few of your familiar faces here, starting over here with...
Hi, I'm Sabina.
And here we have...
Melissa.
And here in the middle, Tom.
You introduced yourself this time.
I know,
I'm so proud of you.
I know. It's like life goals.
I never know what he's going to do in just the beginning of the episode.
Self-drum roll.
It sets the tone for the whole rest of the episode. I don't know.
I just got back from Chicago, where I was with my dad and my mom. Actually, yeah, with my dad and my mom. And it was interesting because I was having a moment with them that reminded me about this conversation I was having with my coach between head space and heart space. And sometimes leaders will think with their head and sometimes will think with their heart. And my coach had asked me which one of my parents is more head and heart. And I was thinking, and I was being with them this weekend, I realized my mom is so headstrong and my dad is so heart-strong.
Really?
And the reason being, I think, is because my mom had to she had to just get it done. with 5 boys, it was just like she just needed to get it done.
Yeah.
And my dad was more, he was a philosophy professor, so he was even though he's thinking, it was all like he felt everything that was happening, and if one of us was having a bad day or something, he would be very much in a space where he would come from the heart.
That's so crazy. I would think the opposite.
I
Because
would
of the
too.
philosophical brain and your mom being a social worker.
Yeah, here's one more element to it. Yeah, right, you'd think. One more element to it, though, is my mom was raised with a mom, so she was a single parent. And my mom was raised with my dad, with a father, and my dad was raised with a mom without a dad. And so maybe that plays into it.
Yeah. It's interesting what we pick up and what we learn and who we learn it from and how to do it. So.
Yeah, and why that's interesting is because today's topic. Do you know what it is, Sabina?
I completely forgot, Tom. I think you should tell us.
We just show up. You tell us.
Well, today's topic is emotional and cultural intelligence within your team. Mm-hmm. And so we'll probably be talking a little bit about this head-heart concept in that aspect.
Yeah, awesome.
Which I'm excited. But we have a special guest that's coming with us. It's going to be right here in just a moment. Magically. It's going to happen. But you have some teasers for the audience.
I always have teasers. All right, fun fact number 1 is that our guest has hung out with, when I read the first name, I was like, shut up. Has hung out with Janet Jackson.
What?
Miss Jackson if you're nasty. Quincy Jones, Spike Lee, Mike Bloomberg, and Hank Aaron.
What?
Our guest is a celebrity.
Yeah.
By proxy.
Which makes us by proxy celebrities.
Yeah.
Sold.
In a minute.
TMZ, we're looking
Autographs
at you.
later. Autographs later.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Our guest is also a yoga practitioner.
Oh. We could do some sun salutations.
Savasana.
Let's just do,
my favorite.
That's just sleepy, people. It's just sleepy.
It is.
And last one?
And last but not least, but our guest likes to share one-liners from talk shows to start conversations on social media. And I love it. As I was scrolling through, I was like, oh yeah, where your head's at.
I did happen to see some of these. If you do want to see some funny responses, go check out his or her, we don't know yet, social media.
And of course, we'll give you links below at the end of the episode.
Yeah. So before we bring that guest out to talk about emotional and cultural intelligence, one final thing we want to mention is because we do leadership and team development programs with corporations and colleges, one of the things we like to do every program is give our audience a speaker tip. And related to this one, there's a thing called All Eyes on Me. Yes, just like that. Don't stare too long. You'll scare people. There's an interesting tactic that you can do when talking to the audience to make sure that they're paying attention to you. And what you do is stand in the middle of the room, you're delivering the story, start moving to the side. And if their heads with their eyes follow you to the other side, wherever you're going to on the stage or on the other side of the room, that's a good sign that they're paying attention to you and they're locked in. If your eyes don't follow you, that's a sign that they have drifted off, they're not paying attention, you need to do some kind of state change.
And they're on Snapchat.
And they're on Snapchat, right, exactly. So there you go. All eyes on me. Speaker tip number 400 and 309.
Oh, yeah.
Speaker
Get those
tip.
confused all
I
the
know.
time.
409, 309.
So
It's tricky.
similar.
Which one was number 1 again? No? Okay.
Show up.
We haven't revealed that one yet. Show up. Just show up.
Just show up.
Speak.
Step 1.
With that, are we ready to bring our guest
Yes. Oh, it is so time.
in? Here we go. Please welcome. Here he is, Richard.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having
What
me.
an awesome entrance. Like,
Yeah.
what made you
It's
think
like
of that?
magical, right?
This is amazing. I'm just curious. Did you bring all your celebrity friends with you?
Are they back here?
We know they run late.
They run late, of
Yeah.
course,
And
of
yeah,
course.
Celebrity
That's
times.
just how they
I
are.
get it, I get it.
Anytime they would like to be on the Swift Kick TV, just let us know. You know,
I'm
if they
sure
need-
that's top of their list.
I know.
It's like us and Oprah
it's fine. It's fine. We got
and
this.
Ellen. The three.
Richard, before we jump into like some questions we have here about the topic and about you, can you give our amazing audience sort of the 1 minute 90-second intro about who you are, so they know who you are?
So, my name is Richard Levychin. I'm a CPA. I'm a partner with the CPA firm KBL LLP. And I run what's called the Emerging Business Group there at KBL. And what the Emerging Business Group is a practice group within a firm that focuses on fast growth companies. Offices in New York City, Midtown Manhattan, and we also have an office in Glendale, California. Our clients are national and global, and a lot of these fast growth companies have different cultures and different platforms, and we're pretty much industry agnostic. But again, we just get to hang out with really aggressive entrepreneurs with fast growth companies that have severe ADD.
That sounds lovely.
What are you talking about? All right. So with that, we have some rapid fire questions
fire
to
questions.
welcome you to the rapid fire zone. Are you ready?
What?
Good answer. Good answer. All right.
Here we go. Ready? Best childhood memory.
Playing sports, baseball and basketball.
Ooh. Blue suit or black suit?
Blue, black is for funerals and black tie events, and when you're trying to look chic in New York.
That's so true.
Yeah, it's like
I
the New York City uniform.
Hashtag chic in New York.
I know now it's like crap. I only own black suits,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But I'm
I
good
own
for the
suits.
next funeral. That got morbid. Running or yoga?
Yoga.
What position? Do you have like a favorite?
Standing bow.
Standing bow. That gets serious.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know what that is. Oh, is that the
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You have to stand on one leg is out, arms out like that.
Wow.
And then this arm is holding the leg back.
We're gonna make you do it. We're gonna take a picture.
That's
Yeah.
not gonna happen.
If we had like a wide angle lens, we could
Yeah,
totally make
yeah,
this happen,
like,
but that's
yeah.
not. We're not sophisticated enough for that.
Yeah, we'll get there. Penthouse or cabin in the woods?
Penthouse.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Really?
You know.
Cabin in the woods. Cabin inside of a penthouse, maybe.
But glamping's a thing now, though. You can
Not
get
for me.
you get super
There's no
sophisticated.
such thing. If there's nature involved, I'm not interested.
If there's no takeout capabilities, I'm not interested.
Right? Right? If you
There
can't
is.
deliver.
Sorry,
I'm kind of big on indoor bathrooms also. I mean,
That too.
plumbing.
It's casual.
Just plumbing.
Cable
Just plumbing.
Plumbing is cool.
You're
yeah.
very
Yeah.
progressive with the times I see. You know, indoor bathroom.
Plumbing. All right. Favorite vacation spot?
McGrill, Jamaica.
Ooh.
Now I just want to go.
Bye.
Bye.
I think I leave this episode every time.
Yeah.
Meditation or boxing?
Meditation.
We lost him. He just meditated. real
Yeah,
quick.
no. It's like a whoosh. Escalator
up?
or stairs?
Stairs you gotta walk, and escalator you get to stand. So my answer would be walking on the escalator.
Can I just make a comment? I'm so confused by people who stand on moving walkways. I don't get it.
Hashtag lazy.
Like, what's the point? I get escalators because it is effort to go up, but like you're already walking, so
And
what?
then you can stop.
But
They're meditating.
if they're meditating, all for it. Okay.
If I have a heavy backpack and in the airport, yeah, if there's a lot of stuff, that's my break.
Yeah.
It's like,
If you need a rest,
I'm sweating, I'm breathing heavy, it's like that moment, yeah.
also depends on the day.
All right.
Hammock or porch swing?
Yeah.
No?
He's New York. He's got neither.
Well, not that, but if you had a choice, if you had that porch.
In your luxury hotel
I guess
in
I
the
would
grill
go
in Jamaica.
with the. I don't know. I keep saying getting ready to say the porch swing, and then I think about the. You know what? I'll take the hammer.
Hammock, yeah, in Jamaica, there it is.
Yeah. In the
All
grill.
right. Movies, original or the remake?
Well, it depends on what the remake is.
It's true. I mean, Ghostbusters did that's not a remake. That's like a...
Listen, a lot of times I'll be channel surfing and a movie will come on I've seen 50,000 times and I'll watch it. Love Actually.
I mean, that's just like...
Major League.
Yeah, I mean...
Any Given Sunday.
All right, so we're going with
Notting Hill.
originals. We're going originals.
But the originals, I can't wait to see The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Okay.
I loved Black Panther.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, it's like they're gonna do Black Panther too. They got together and says, "You want to make another $1 billion?" Yeah, I want.
Yeah, sure do.
Sure.
They're sitting around the table. Guys, what do we do here?
This is such a challenging question. All right.
The answer is depends.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
And last one, favorite song lyric.
I would say from Michael Jackson's "Man in the Mirror." Like a singer.
Yeah, of course.
No, stop that. Leave our poor guest alone.
I'm talking to
He's
the
a singer
man
in this show.
the mirror.
Keep going.
Asking him to change ways.
Well,
And
No difference of the man in the mirror. If you want to
It's
make
too
a
early for this.
change.
Change. You got that lyric.
There you go. That's it. And you're out. Out of the
Yes.
rapid. That's the reverse.
survived. Yeah.
Good work. Good work. Good work.
Nice
Good
job.
work.
Got you.
Emotional and cultural intelligence within your team, which is like the name alone is a lot, so let's dig into it. And my first question is, as a result of the work you do and the involvement you have, how do you define emotional intelligence? Like, what's a good definition we use from it as a baseline moving forward for the conversation?
As a baseline, back in the day, people used to judge their talent based upon how intelligent they were, and they would measure it with this thing called intelligent quotient, IQ. As we evolved as a culture, as a nation, we realized there was an emotional component that also needed to be evaluated. So somebody could be the greatest accountant on the planet, but if he's got a funky attitude, that may not go over well with clients. So in essence, what a lot of companies have been doing has been measuring people's emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence being defined as their ability to connect with somebody emotionally, how they make that person feel. Most of the companies in New York are in the service business and require some sort of personal interaction, not only face to face, but also over the internet in terms of whether you're texting or emailing somebody. And to the extent that you have very high emotional intelligence, it makes that interaction go that much better. And it also impacts whether or not it speaks to client retention, getting new business. But at the end of the day, emotional intelligence really is around one's ability to connect with somebody at an emotional level, to speak in a way that speaks to their needs, being able to speak to their listening, and ultimately, in my opinion, it impacts productivity and helps companies grow.
It reminds me, I mean, it's very much in the work we do talking about the humans need humans, and there's the human side of what someone does, and then there's the technical side. And if all we do is focus on the technical side and we ignore the fact that on the other side of that equation is a human, then we're ignoring a huge part of what that interaction is like. And so that's interesting. Do you feel like has emotional intelligence increased in society, or have we gotten better at it, I guess?
Well, I think there's an understanding out there with companies that are really engaged and that are looking to move forward, the importance of emotional intelligence. But on the other side, people's interaction with social media and they're constantly being on their phones, it's very hard to develop the skill sets that you need to develop strong emotional intelligence. So there's an understanding of the need, but then the way things are going on in society, it's kind of like they're fighting with each other, and it's very hard to teach people to change their habits around social media and how they should interact in social media, and pretty much to learn the skills of just putting the phone down and just working on your emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big one.
I just put all caps in my status update, and that's my. Isn't that it? Oh,
That's how we know he's serious. He just yells at us.
Yeah. I mean, for most people, emotional intelligence is like they communicating with emojis and they think that's it.
Yeah.
No.
But there's the
Not
tier
quite.
one, you know. Like,
Oh dear. Okay.
oh,
So-
Tom.
have you,
Along those lines, then, say I'm a new team leader.
Yes.
I all of a sudden I'm in charge of a team. What advice would you give me in that role as far as emotional intelligence?
Well, the first order of business is that your team has to be technically competent. Let's start there. I mean, you can have all the emotional intelligence in the world, but it only get you so far if you don't know how to do your job. The other thing is that you can't whitewash everybody. What that means is that you can't treat everybody the same. Each person has their own story. They come from different cultures. Everybody reacts to different stimuli. Everybody's motivated differently. So in essence, it's going to require that you have a one-on-one relationship with that person. Over the period of time as you become a team leader, you may have to take people out as a group and also one-on-one. Why as a group? Because you need to see how they interact within the group and the dynamics of how they are with each other within the group. Then you also need to understand them personally in terms of what they respond to. So when you go out with them to lunch, don't just have lunch and talk about how the great food. Just really get into their story, understand where they come from, and really listen to what they're saying. Just ask questions and listen. Ask questions and listen, and just really get a sense of understanding where their strengths and their weaknesses are and what they respond to. You're going to have times where you're going to be on deadline. You're going to be under tremendous pressure, and that's when the emotional intelligence kind of kicks in, because that data that you get from spending time with them, that's when that kind of comes into play. When it's the fourth quarter, you're down by 5 points, and there's only 2 minutes left. That's when the team kind of comes together, and that's where the importance of emotional intelligence kind of kicks in. But as a team leader, you spend the time with them individually and as a team, and also get the team to interact with each other, so they can they can also understand how they well work with each other, and allow them to emotionally connect. Team building skills, just going out drinking, just going out and having lunch, that type of stuff. It all works out.
Yep.
Permission to drink.
Granted.
You didn't need that.
What happens if they're too emotionally connected?
That's the advanced course.
Yeah, that's
We charge for that one.
Yeah. So I want to come back to emotional intelligence, but before we do that, cultural intelligence. And so what is cultural intelligence? How does emotional and cultural play together, or are they just separate entities, two different types of intelligence? So what is it, and where does it come from?
They're together and separate all at the same time.
Okay.
So in essence,
Perfect.
Melissa's a great example. So she's Puerto Rican. So there's certain things that she responds to being Puerto Rican culturally. So to the extent that I have a background in Latinas and what they respond to, it allows me to be able to connect with her on a deeper level emotionally. So in essence, to the extent that you understand someone's culture, it impacts how you speak to them, the things that you say to them. So I can speak to her culturally about Puerto Rico. By the way, I'm 1/8 Cuban.
Oh, hey, bud.
See, Lil, how she reacted when she heard that. All of a sudden, we're connected. So then it changes the dynamic. That right there just basically changes the dynamic between us. And now we can. She's reacting to me differently.
Yeah, here are the questions.
Okay.
So
when I do my ancestry and I find out I'm part Latina, you're gonna call me Boo. That's gonna be all needed.
So if you have two people from different cultures, and so a lot of times we have these unconscious biases about what people are. So in essence, if you're able to interact with that person that's from a different culture than you, from their culture, from knowledge that you have in their culture, all of a sudden, the shields go down a little bit more, and there's a sense of connectivity that's there, and it allows you to get deeper with them emotionally.
I like that.
That's the importance of cultural intelligence.
Yeah, that's
Commonality.
Yeah, brings everybody together. And I think as a newer speaker to not only the speaking world but to Swift Kick, that's something that I wanted to provide someone too, is that it would be amazing for a young woman in the audience to look up and be like, she has curly hair like me, or she's a little spicy like me. It's always good to be able to relate to people, whether it be a speaker and someone in the audience or your boss or whoever on your team.
And the thing is, it's very important as the world is changing and becoming more colorful, people-wise. I think they said in the year 2030 that the majority of the people in this country will be people of color.
Wow.
Being able to having greater cultural intelligence is very important. As human beings, part of reason we're here is to experience ourselves in the most powerful and wonderful way possible. And to the extent that you limit yourself to that, to just what those people that look like you or that culture that is you, it limits the quality of your life, the richness of your life.
So how then in the work environment, if I'm running a team and I have people of different backgrounds that are there, what am I doing to bridge that cultural intelligence gap? Like if someone comes in and they've never worked with anyone else besides their own race or gender or ethnicity or whatever it might be, or religion, like what can be done there? Any suggestions?
Well, the thing is that if you let's dial it back a little bit. Let's say you're interviewing somebody who's never worked with somebody other than their own gender, race, or whatever. You may not want to hire that person. Because what's happening now with a lot of companies is that they're not only looking at emotional IQ, they're looking at emotional intelligence, but they're also looking at it that person's ability to interact with other cultures. And if your client base is multicultural, that person probably would not be a good fit for your team.
So then how would that person end up learning? If you're not going to hire them, are they going to keep going to jobs that...
Well, if that person didn't have a good skill set, would you feel bad not hiring them? If their skill set was just not up to speed.
But then you get into that, I'm out of college and I need experience to get a job, but...
Yeah.
But how do I get a job with that experience?
Well, it depends on what level you're hiring at.
Right.
So in
you
other
start
words,
them on the ground floor.
Although I would say that the colleges need to pay attention to that.
Well, cultural intelligence is something that
skill set.
Cultural intelligence is not. There isn't like a course that you can teach.
Right.
It's more a function of being open to other cultures. It's something that's a personal thing that you kind of have to develop. It's just like you can't teach your people to be in good shape and eat healthy. That's a personal choice that they have to make. You can go on. You can say, oh, if you guys eat healthy, you'll be able to perform better and feel better. Everybody will nod their heads. But whether they do it or not is another story.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I don't know. I think it's the company's responsibility to build their staff's skill sets and give them the tools they need to be better professionals. And you could okay, fine. I think we can agree on that. Emotional intelligence. Okay, you can bring courses in and teach them about emotional intelligence. Cultural intelligence is not something you can fake because people are really smart. Have you ever had to call up about your credit card or customer service and somebody calls you up? So how's your day today? How authentic does that feel?
Yeah.
Because it's like, good. How was your day? Good.
Or you'll say, well, listen, I'm having an issue with so and so. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, but I'm pretty sure, but I'm going to be able to help with that. It just sounds inauthentic in the back of your mind.
Yeah, sure you are.
You're like, right, yeah, whatever. Let's just get to it, But what if somebody said, Michelle, that's unfortunate. That's happening. Where are you sitting today? Where are you calling from? Well, Michelle, well, I'm sitting in my slippers. Oh, what kind of slippers you wear? Oh, and then you're into whatever. So in essence, cultural intelligence it's not something you can take a course. It's people have to really be willing to go out and expose themselves to other cultures and be open to other cultures and be willing to stand in other people's shoes and not view other cultures from where they sit.
And then in the workplace, that gets tricky. Like you say, expose yourself. And so being willing to go into conversations that I'm ignorant about, or I don't know about, or I don't understand, and then being willing to trip up or mess up and learn and have learning moments for myself in the workspace. I'm not with necessarily friends, but coworkers, and sometimes it's my boss, or sometimes I'm the subordinate to the boss, or vice versa. So I'm trying to figure how they can do that in their team and build that cultural intelligence.
Well, it's almost as if the cultural intelligence has to be built outside the team.
In the informal moments, or
in other words, they need to make their mistakes outside of the team.
Yeah.
And be involved with social networks that are multicultural. That's kind of how you build it. Again, you can't go to class and teach this stuff.
Yeah.
And then they bring that into the team. So, for example, you have a way of dressing. You didn't get that from working here. You brought that part of you into the company. So it's the same thing. It's that the cultural part. You're bringing it into the company, and you're developing it outside and bringing it in, and within the interactions with the. So that's the base point, and then you develop it as you speak to other people.
Yeah.
Speaking of bringing things into the company, what are your thoughts around the millennial generation entering the workforce? How has that changed how hiring managers look at and evaluate emotional and cultural intelligence?
Well, the whole millennial thing, it's just, as someone who's not a millennial, I've kind of struggled to be able to work with millennials. And what I've come to find is that what they're bringing to the table is the next thing. And what needs to happen is you need to listen more and tell them less. So back in the day, when the way I kind of grew up, it was kind of like you did only two things. You asked questions and you listened. That was it. You did what you were told. But what's happening is the millennials are creating such a significant shift in how work is done and what products are being bought and services are being provided, that you need to sit in the room and really listen to where they're going, and you kind of need to build your company in terms of what they're saying. It doesn't mean you have to re-engineer the whole thing in one day, but you kind of need to redesign, because if that's going to be those are going to be the people in your workforce, you need to design culture that they feel comfortable with it. And then it goes back to cultural intelligence. Part of building a workforce is how culturally intelligent the leaders are. And if you're going to have a millennial workforce, you need to build a workforce that speaks to millennials. So one of the things I heard in the accounting profession, you need to design, the thing about the accounting profession is that you want people to stay on as long as possible. Well, one of the things that somebody said is maybe you need to build a model where they're going to leave in 4 years and design the company as if they're going to leave in 4 years, as opposed to resisting it. There's a saying, what you resist persists.
Yeah.
So in essence, my take on this is to design the company where the millennials will work within the millennial culture. And if you do that, you'll end up getting higher quality millennials coming to your organization, and they will bring other higher quality millennials also. But if you resist that whole mindset, ultimately you're going to lose.
Yeah,
Right
that's
now.
an interesting framework, because that is the statistic. That's how long millennials will stay in a position,
Exactly.
a little over 4 years. So that's interesting to craft companies that serve that very transitional period.
Yes.
Unrelated, Sabina, how long have you been here? Over 4 years?
5. Yeah.
Okay, good.
2013.
And are you sensing that millennials are coming in with a higher level of cultural and emotional intelligence, or is it lower, or is it about the same?
I think millennials one of the issues that I've heard about millennials is issues around critical thinking and issues around being able to connect emotionally, and cultural diversity. Yeah, they do better on the cultural intelligence, but the emotional intelligence piece is a little tough because they're basically stuck on their phones a lot. And sometimes to connect with somebody emotionally, you actually have to get on the phone with them before you can pull them off the phone.
Interesting.
That's true. It's like an icebreaker.
Yeah.
We text, now we call. Like,
Meet
that's
them
all.
where they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the facilitation world, it's called theirs to ours, ours to theirs, and the idea is we go into their world to build the rapport, so
Right.
they trust us, have a relationship with us, but then we bring them back to our world, give them the values and skills.
Not disagree
And-
with you on that one.
Sorry, and then bring them back and let them go back into their world because they're the next generation.
I think that when what you have is what's called the illusion of separation, and the illusion of separation is that our world is different from theirs. So the thing is, if you try to bring them back into our world, then what you've done is that you've missed out on the opportunities and the gifts that they have to tell you about their world. So in essence, what may work better for you is because it sounds like you're tricking them a little bit, as opposed to acknowledging that what they have to say is value, and taking those things that are valuable and transforming your company to work better. Because some of the stuff they have to say is a little out there and may not work for your company, and some of the stuff may be actually useful and may have your company run better. So to the extent, if that sounds to me like a little trickery, but think about it. If you're a millennial and the person takes half your suggestions, you're like, oh, okay, he's listening to me. But if he just kind of just did it just to get you to do the project and then went back to his old way of being, after a while you're going to be like, yeah, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Interesting.
See, well, actually, starting at Swift Kick, I was fresh out of college, and Tom was very much like, he started expecting me to have answers, and I'm looking at him like, I live with my mom. I don't know anything. But it was, at the time, just really me and him in the company. Melissa wasn't there yet. We had an intern, but they might be virtual, and he was looking at me for things that I didn't think I was ready to give, and yet I grew because of it. But
Yeah, but
he's a special case.
Yeah, and that's kind of how you do it.
Special case.
You really do have to listen and ask questions and engage them. And sometimes, you know, if you leave them alone, they may come and say, well, that idea I had, it was so brilliant. Maybe it wasn't so brilliant. But at least it was through a conversation with you, as opposed to you just telling them, that's not the way we do things here. This is how we do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Better have them come to it on their own.
Yeah.
than-
Yeah.
So that's the positive side of it. This is when it works. Is there ever a time that it doesn't work, or that we're too focused on emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence, where it could be a deficit in the workplace?
I would suspect, when you become too emotionally attached to somebody, that you really just need to fire. Like, they're just not performing, and you're doing all this emotional, cultural intelligence stuff, and the bottom line is they just suck and they need to go. Period.
Adopt them.
And you just call them in and say, listen, this isn't working.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And just
Fi-
have the exit conference.
fire fast, hire slow. That's the idea. One final question for you, because we've gone in a deep conversation and we've bounced around and we're already over time, which is like it always happens.
Every episode.
In accounting, which doesn't strike me as the most emotionally connected industry, how are you using cultural and emotional intelligence within your job?
Well, the issue with the accounting industry is that it's growing, it's becoming more complex, and we're having trouble attracting and retaining senior level talent. There's just not enough talent to go around, so the firms are just banging their heads trying to find talent. And I think what it is that the thing about the accounting culture, we're slow to adopt, like real slow. I mean, we're a bunch of pointy-head accountants, and we're
Love to
like
go to that conference.
we're really slow to adopt, and you know we don't. I don't feel that the profession thinks highly of millennials and how they are. They don't work hard enough. Blah 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 blah. What we're doing at our firm is, because most of the people in my practice group are these fast growth companies that are hiring millennials. It's important that I understand that culture, because my advice to them, strategic advice that when we give them in building their company, that has to be factored into the strategic advice. And when you start to hang out with these fast growth companies and you see what they're doing, you bring it back to the firm. So a lot of what I'm looking to build within the firm is what I'm learning from my clients.
Yeah. And there's so many tools now related to finances, whether it's accounting or personal finances, that I think I know I'm 1 year out of being a millennial, but so many of them I use and I love them. And so then I talk to people that are 10 or 20 years older than me, and they have no clue these tools exist. And they talk to people 5 years younger than me, and they're like, oh yeah, of course we use that. And so I get there's that aspect of like there's a comfortability with technology and the newness that the younger generation has that potentially could be leveraged by the older generation.
The older generation needs
to make their jobs easier.
The older generation needs to start to do these exercises where they leave themselves open. So like one of the things I do is that I walk to work. I don't walk to work. I live in Park Slope, and the subway's across the street from my house, but yet I walk a half an hour to the subway that's further away. But every morning I walk a different route, and the reason I walk a different route is because I want my brain to be always open and malleable. So it's an exercise I do to keep my brain malleable and to be open to new ideas. I'm an older guy. I like what I know, but I force myself to get into new technology. Like it's painful, but I do it anyhow.
Snapchat?
Not Snapchat, but
not us.
I mean,
we tried. Oh.
But luckily I have a teenager at home, so the music that's playing in the house is always the latest stuff. And
you have a translator.
I have a translator.
How old's your teenager?
I have a 15-year-old and I have a 20-year-old.
Okay.
Where college?
One's just finished 9th grade, and the other one just finishes junior year at Syracuse.
That's great.
So the conversation is always like we're always, mom and dad always kept up to speed on the latest music, latest things that's going on, whatever.
This is what our interns do for us.
Yeah.
They're like our little kids. We just gave out a gift to a bunch of clients, and we had dice, and they had words that the younger generation's using right now, and they had to roll both dice, and
Roll that
whatever
dice.
words popped up, they had to create a social media status update that used both words.
In a sentence.
They had a hilarious conversation.
I learned a lot. Because some of these words...
Urban Dictionary is a scary book.
Yeah.
They sound like old people.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. And we're so
yeah.
young still.
I mean,
I'm an
I'm a
old soul.
millennial, but I belong in the 50s, and I'm well aware of that.
Yeah.
But what I want to say, though, related to the topic we have going on, is like cultural intelligence is also generational intelligence.
Bingo. You got it.
Right?
Culture is not just race.
And people want to be seen. People want to be heard. And I think, we can call it emotional intelligence. We can call it cultural intelligence. But I think it just speaks to our humanity
Yeah.
Exactly.
at the end of the day.
Everyone, hold on.
It's time for some shameless self-promotion.
Why do we never do this?
Richard, we
Shocking
we
every
just need to
time.
talk to the camera really quickly and do a shameless
Just sit back and
self-promotion.
hang
Yeah,
out.
just hang on just a second.
And giggle. It's fine to giggle.
Hello, everyone. Melissa and Tom here, your fellow speakers. You may have seen us on stage, on a chair.
In a conference room on a chair.
I stand on chairs in my
all right,
programs.
that's good, yeah.
We here at Swift Kick deliver leadership and team development programs for corporations, for colleges.
Teams. You lead a team. You're on a team. You want to be on a team.
Yeah. And our main leadership program is called Dance Floor Theory, where we use dance floors as a metaphor on how you can engage your employees or your team members or your organization into what we call a culture of connection. How could they, if they were so interested and wanted to know more about us, where could they possibly go?
There's a few places to go. You can check out our website, swiftkick.hq.com.
HQ.com.
You can also subscribe to this channel here. There's a button over there. It's over there. Yeah. Or you can subscribe to our newsletter by texting Team Human. Text Team Human to 66866.
And I like how my voice kept going on.
There's the singer coming out again.
With that, welcome back.
And now back to our
Thanks.
regular scheduled programming.
Yes.
Pro Mag.
Sorry for the interruption.
No worries.
We just got to pay the bills.
Gotta pay the bills,
I
man.
know. If sponsors, we're welcome. We're
Janet.
open. Janet, I know.
Just sponsored by Janet Jackson. Just done.
Your little baby's going to be in college soon. Just saying. She had a baby. Okay. Sabina.
Yes.
Do we have
We
something
do.
happening?
An
next?
activity. We have an
All right.
activity. We always have an activity.
We like to put our guests in the spot.
Yes.
No,
Okay.
Welcome to the spot.
yeah, this is the spot. What is that activity?
So, I know we were talking about being open and keeping that dialogue open, but I thought it'd be fun if we closed off your dialogue a little bit. So we're going to play a little bit of Taboo, my version of it. I don't have the actual game anywhere. And so I'm thinking I should make Melissa go first.
Oh dear.
I have some cards here with words, but they also have words you cannot use listed at the bottom.
Oh, this is never good.
And you have to have these two guess the word that
All
you
right,
try.
perfect. I'm so glad Melissa's going first.
So,
Oh gosh, and I can't say anything that is on these cards.
correct.
Great. Just gonna read the card.
And our job is to guess the word. Sorry, I'm
Yes,
not-
the
I'm not
main
familiar
word
with
on the
Taboo.
Main
card.
word, but I can't. Okay. All right. Do I have a time limit?
I'll give you 1 minute, and we'll see how that works.
Okay. All right.
I might shorten it.
Okay. When can I look?
Ready, set, and go.
Cultural intelligence. Next. Nothing.
No. Okay. Oh gosh. No pressure. Okay. It is a title.
President.
There. Nope. It's a thing you read,
A book.
and the title
Newspaper.
is two opposite things. It's a classic.
War and Peace.
Yes. What?
What?
I knew he would get it, and I knew you would.
What? How did?
High five.
I told her she couldn't say
Is this
book.
the eighth? Is this the
You
eighth
could have
in
said
you
Leo
that just
Tolstoy
I
though.
blanked.
I know.
I'm like, I need the author's
I
name.
was like, I'm gonna
and-
give her the option. She's never gonna remember anyway.
Yep. Yeah.
Who wants to
Wow.
go next?
Okay.
What? I'm still. I feel
You
like
need a
this is
moment?
all set up ahead of time.
You want to go next?
Alright.
All right.
I know we both have to guess, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't look
so-
at the card, cheater.
All right. If I were going to a formal event, I might put this on.
Tuxedo.
Justin Timberlake sang a song that was titled this.
Suit and tie.
Suit-
Bam!
Yeah.
Yes. I like how Justin Timberlake got it.
I almost put no Justin Timberlake
Oh,
on that
really?
card, and I was like, ah. Are you ready?
Oh.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Cultural.
Intelligence.
That one was easy.
Easy.
Well, we don't
too
even need a
easy.
minute for these.
Yeah,
All
that
right.
was good.
We have two more. Would you like to finish it
Give
out?
him another one. That was too easy.
Yeah, that was too easy. Okay.
You got an easy one at first, but
In school, I'm a teacher.
Delinquent.
2 words. Okay, start over again. 2 words. First word.
Yeah.
In school, I'm a
Student.
and one of the things that you teach here is
Leader.
Math, reading.
Student,
Here?
student leader.
Student
Student leader.
leader.
Student leader. Student leader. Student
Student
leader.
leadership.
Got it. Yeah.
you guys are
We've
good
trained
at
tons
this.
of student leaders.
All right,
It's a thing we do.
fight for the last one.
Go.
Oh gosh. Oh,
Welcome to Swift
get
Kickin'.
that hand off. Okay.
That's delegation right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
You know what? This is just rude.
I don't remember what.
We're here. It's a thing we're doing, and
It's a TV
there's
show.
4 letters.
SKTV.
Yes.
Wow.
This is the first activity you guys didn't horribly fail at, so I'm really proud of you.
I'm still shocked at Warren Peterson. Like that was.
I knew something. I
clue.
never even met him before, and I just knew
That
that
he
was
would
going to
get
be
it?
his guess. I knew.
My hints weren't that good either.
You couldn't even remember Leo Tolstoy.
All right,
Yeah.
we got to close out.
We do,
We
yes.
got to close out the episode together. So, Richard, how it ends is we like to give a final thought to our fans out there. If you were going to close out the episode with one final thing, we also sometimes lean in and lower our voices
Get
and
real close.
soft music comes on.
Am I starting? I'll start.
We take a deep breath. Sabina, I think you should also close out this
Oh,
thing.
thank you.
My final thought is that these 2 pieces of emotional and cultural intelligence go hand in hand, but are also just very separate things that we have to learn and experience day to day.
My final thought is what Richard said, that cultural intelligence can make or break a sale. So it's not just about the internal relationships, it's also about client relationships.
My final thought is that if you're looking to grow your business, which is defined as having employed the best people for the best price and having the best clients for the largest fee, you need to have a component of emotional intelligence and cultural intelligence. It falls under the concept of simple math. To the extent that you have very strong emotional and cultural intelligence, it allows you to reach a wider and broader scale of people, and the more people you're able to reach, the better chance you get of hiring the best employee, and the more chances you get to get more business.
Love it. And I was really taken with the idea of there seems to be this balance, if you want cultural intelligence, of the commonalities but also the differences. But at the end of the day, it's the commonality or the knowledge that you have, even if you don't share it, that really makes that connection. And then after that, you can sort of celebrate the differences. But we all have that human commonality that starts the whole thing.
I don't think there are differences. It's just there's this thing called the illusion of separation.
There
And
you
the
go.
illusion of separation is that we believe that just because we're different, that we should be separate.
Right.
I love it. All right, that brings us to the end of the episode. And Richard, we never like to let our guests leave without taking something with them from us.
Hope it's not an invoice.
It's actually all of my receipts.
Yeah. And so, Sabina?
Yeah, so I know that we talked about cultural intelligence, and I know that you like to help others come up from wherever they are. So open it up and
Let's see what we have
See
here.
the magic.
Are you familiar with the kiva.org?
No, I don't. No.
Oh, this is so good.
Oh, even better.
Kiva.org is an international organization where people can donate money towards different individuals in all around the world and U.S. based. However, they also the individuals then pay it back.
it's microloan.
It's
I
micro, yeah.
understand.
And so I've been doing it for a long time, and I tend to only, this is just my choice, I tend to only give to female entrepreneurs, and it's been an amazing experience to.
You single?
No.
Not self-serving.
But
And you're a male entrepreneur, right?
yeah.
You see where I'm going with it?
Yeah, I get it. But no, I just feel like
It's like emotional intelligence, you
Yeah.
know?
So this is a 25 to get you started, and it's just a really cool opportunity because you can see the stories and everything. So hopefully it can
Thank you so
get you
much.
started. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on the show
Yes,
in the
great
Swift Kick
chatting.
TV.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And that's it, everyone. Thanks
Don't forget
so
to
much.
subscribe.
And thanks for joining us for another episode. Check out the next ones are always going to be coming every
Once
so
a month.
often. Once a month. There it
Yes.
is. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. See ya. It's so nice
That's a
with
wrap.
air conditioning.
I know. Yeah, you got lucky. We've had people sweating